It's no wonder that environmentalism has been associated with the construction and enforcement of limits. After all, environmental protection is oriented towards stopping or curbing destruction of the natural world in various forms. How we understand that process of limitation and the politics underpinning it, however, are very much up for debate. Is there a different way to view ecological limits? Perhaps one which doesn't leave the environmental movement being caricatured as bleak Malthusians or prophets of doom? What social and economic forms allow democratic negotiation of livelihoods within limits? The famous Limits to Growth report from 1972 modelled exponential economic and population growth and their interaction with pollution, food production, and depletion of natural resources. The report famously concluded, if the present growth trends in world population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion continue unchanged, the limits to growth on this planet will be reached sometime within the next 100 years. Just a decade ago, the peak oil movement argued that civilization was under imminent threat of collapse due to easily accessible fossil fuels running out. Today, we seem to have the opposite problem, abundance. Fossil fuels are too abundant, carbon is too abundant, and the call from activists is now to leave it in the ground. Limits are anathema to capitalist and Western visions of development. As Ronald Reagan said, there are no great limits to growth because there are no limits of human intelligence, imagination, and wonder. However, research tells us that various key planetary thresholds are being crossed, as described by the planetary boundaries approach of the Stockholm Resilience Centre. So what more emancipatory visions of limits are possible? For Giorgos Kallis, the traditional environmental approach of ascribing limits to external nature are no longer adequate. Drawing from Cornelius Castoriadis and others, he describes this approach as a heteronomous understanding of limits, forced on society by nature or God or some other perceived external force. Instead, Kallis proposes collective practices of self-limitation, or an autonomous understanding of limits, whereby communities and societies use self-limitation to seek abundance. This is an agenda which has been taken up by some leading scholars in ecological economics and sustainability science. They argue that, instead of being objectively given by biophysical processes, societal boundaries emerge from contested societal processes that lead to collectively defined thresholds that societies commit not to trespass. Boundaries, planetary or societal, are not given. Rather, they are always relational, a function of human intentions, actions, practices, and interactions, and it is these factors that should be bounded to make space for all. There are a plethora of post-capitalist forms which allow for self-defined abundance within limits. Examples of commoning show us that it is possible for a community of users and stakeholders to collectively and sustainably manage resources, ensuring their abundance for current and future generations.